Joe and Jenna, the last offering, my gift to our sisters community. Can we talk about the cost of being first? Because I found that there is a bit of a theme. Emma Greed, eldest daughter, eldest of 4 siblings, and she's spoken a lot about, that having to look after her younger siblings. Dame Mira Sayal, one of the first brown women to kind of break through, and that is it's a specific kind of energy, and that takes.
Yeah, it is, and there's a feeling that you can't show weakness. There's an understanding that you can't show weakness in those moments because other people are relying on you. So whether that's your siblings relying on you being the one who looks after them or is going first, or even the first woman in the room, if you show weakness, that kind of compounds that idea that you shouldn't be there, right? So you're having to always be strong even when you're not really feeling it inside. And I think that idea of that we go through these cycles of being able to show strength and then have to come back within ourselves, gather our resources to then go out again, that becomes a little bit more unsustainable, right? And we need to kind of bring it all back, and we need to make sure that we've got that underlying foundation to help with those really strong, really powerful moments.
Yeah, it's like uncharted territory, isn't it? And that has an inherent potential danger on safety. You're stepping into the unknown. And I think as humans, our brains are kind of wired for the familiar. Familiar is safe and we know what to expect, and our brains are kind of prediction machines, so they're always trying to make sense of what we're doing, where we are, the people we're around. But when you're taking a new turn and pioneering in a different direction, that can be you lose maybe that grounding sense because you don't know where you are, you don't know what's going to happen around the corner. And we have this concept called the allostatic reload, which is a way that we describe how the body can hold a lot. And I think as women in particular, we have an incredible ability to hold a lot. So imagine like an elastic band, and it stretches as the load, becomes larger. And often it's invisible. So imagine a big load above your head, and more things are being piled on, and you're like, yeah, it's fine. I got this. And how many of us do that all the time? But that elastic band only has so much stretch before it starts to fray and everything starts to unravel. And to Joe's point, you need to have those moments where you can recoup so that you can go out again. Otherwise, the load that you can carry will just narrow and narrow because your body will start to give you signs, that that's not possible. And I think that's where this concept of psychoneuroimmunology comes in. So I trained as an immunologist, which is someone who studies everything about the immune system. And we know that as the system that keeps us well. It's the system that, we get symptoms when we get a cold or flu. It's the system that, can cause allergies or inflammatory conditions. But ultimately, it's there to keep us safe. If we have a wound, the immune system heals the wound. And it's really entwined with our nervous system. So psychoneuroimmunology is a niche area of immunology where we suddenly realized, the immune system and the nervous system always talking to each other to keep you safe. So when you're stressed and have a sense of danger, your immune system's like, right, I got to be on guard because something might happen. You might need me to step in. And it does that by raising inflammation, which is useful in some aspects, but not when it's all the time under the surface.
This is so interesting. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just something I must have read or picked up somewhere. Is it women that suffer more with autoimmune?
Yes.
Is this related?
That's correct. So I think it's around 80% of autoimmune diseases are found in women. Wow. And there's certain components to that.
That's a big...
I can't believe we're not talking about that more because the literature is so stark. Yeah. This is primarily a woman's issue. And some of that is genetic, so it's to do with the X chromosome that we carry and some of the genes that are on that. But there's also a theory that the rise in autoimmune diseases that we've seen over the last 50, 60 years has aligned to and correlates with the rise of women being given the same opportunities to have careers as men, yet potentially carrying a bigger load at home. Yeah. So still being the ones that are the primary caregivers if they have children, the primary ones to look after the home life, as well as perhaps working a full week, the same as their heterosexual partner.
And on top of that, having to navigate a landscape that there's no one else like being the first, right? So so you've got that extra stress on top of that.
So that allostatic load, the elastic band's being pulled and pulled and pulled. And then the immune system's right, I need to keep this person safe. But it's a kind of misfiring response because it's not running away from, something trying to eat us in, like our ancestors. It's like a constant everyday, go to the office, like show up in a room full of men, like pioneering, an environment that wasn't perhaps welcoming to women, going home, being a parent, being a carer, all of that load as well.
So what can we do?
Well, this isn't to say we shouldn't be brave and we shouldn't be first. I think ultimately,
someone needs to be.
We need to do these things, right? And it's kind of naming what that cost is, because there's always a cost with everything, right?
Yeah.
And I think in an ideal situation, and this doesn't always happen because often the system isn't set up to support us through being the first. But in an ideal world, if we can understand that if we give our bodies the best opportunity, like build the strongest boat we can to navigate a storm, then we're going to be in the best possible place at the end of it as well. So I think it's not just these short, sharp bursts of being first, being brave. It's then knowing that once we get through the other end, we want to be our full selves and not have to pick up the pieces. So once we see that longer game, and then we can see how to maybe resource ourselves through it with daily acts of self-care, with making sure that we're really kind of nutrient resourced. So we're eating well, we're eating across the day, we're not putting ourselves last in the line, which happens all the time, especially for women, I think. I'm a nutritionist. I'm still classically the last one to eat when I sit down at the table at home, because make sure my kids got their food and everybody's sorted, and it's just part of the culture I've grown up with. And it's a constant reminder that my nutrition is important too, because I'm the one who's underpinning all of this as well.
Putting on the oxygen mask before everyone else.
Exactly. So understanding how to resource yourself, I think, and what you need in that situation to get you through to the other side is important.
And I think that's where we need those conversations between different generations, the women who were pioneering, to pass the baton to the younger ones and be like, it was tough and these are my tips so that you can protect yourself, and you can make sure that you're looking after yourself and prioritizing yourself so that you can continue this journey.
It was really important for me to be able to say to Mira, we see you. Like, it was so, when I knew that this was going to happen, to have Dame Mira Sayal in front of me, for me, was a really important. And I guess it is because of what you're saying, because actually just to have the recognition to, otherwise what is the point? What have you been striving for, and all that stress, and actually for the next generation to go, thank you.
Exactly.
I think
thank you.
We've lost that sort of respect for the wisdom that the elder in our community have, and I like to think of everything in cycles. So nature is always in cycles, like winter, the trees are bare, everything looks grey, but that's preparing for the shoots of spring and the first daffodils that we find so much joy in seeing. And so we need to have those amazing connections with all the different seasons of life so that they're passing that wisdom on to the next generation. And I just think we need to think more in that cycle of life rather than just that sort of linear timeline that we're on individually.
I am loving talking to you two. Thank God for the last offering.